Hello and welcome to the Transformation Podcast. It's me, Jesse. I have a guest here today by the name of Tim. Tim and I went to Costa
Hi.
Rica together. Just like Tyler last week, he was part of the same group. Tim and I, we had experienced ayahuasca together, ayahuasca ceremony in Costa Rica, Monday through Friday. I've already kind of told my backstory. You can catch on the last episode, but we're gonna kind of go through the whole process with Tim here. Tim, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Tim. Like Jesse said, we went on an ayahuasca trip about 6 weeks ago now, and it was in Costa Rica. It's a place called Rythmia. People like Ron White have been there, Graham Hancock's been there, Kelly Slater, some people like that. But it's a really cool place, and yeah, the whole entire thing was just profound. So. I definitely can get into my story if you want me to. I can get into like kind of before
Yeah. Yeah.
and
What brought you there?
yeah. So what brought us there was my wife and I. We just well, let's take it back a little ways. I had a van company and I was building camper vans, and I did that for since 2020, and business has been pretty good. But then it just kind of started dwindling a little bit, and kind of the market started getting flooded with everybody and their brother thought they were a van builder kind of thing. So I decided to kind of get out of it. Well, I didn't realize that once I got out of it, I was, just because you're building the company for that long, that it kind of threw me into a depression for a little bit. And so it was kind of a surreal thing because it just hit me like actually it didn't really hit me that hard. It hit me kind of like slowly, like a slow train running over me in a sense. And I was like, okay, this is weird that this is happening because um you know, I've never really been through that kind of depression before, and I think it was just from working so hard and trying to build something, and all of a sudden it's like, kind of like coming to the reality of like, okay, this isn't working, and I need to readjust. So, I thought that would be an easy process, but instead it was like, oh, okay, here comes a Great Depression over your life.
Yeah.
So, what happened was that happened like June last year. So then, Teresa and I were kind of that's my wife. She was also there as well, and she was doing a work meeting in Spain, and so I was like, "I'll go with you to Spain." So went to Spain, and this is it's like September now, so a few months later, and so I'm still in this weird headspace and just not doing very well. And September comes, I go to Spain with her. We hang out for a week, and while I was there, I was just, I slept a ton. I barely kind of walked around. I feel like I was there for a week, but didn't really do any tourist things and just kind of was out of it. Well, on the last day, I was like, I better do something. I flew all the way here. So I went to this monastery that was up in the mountains. It kind of looks like Boulder, Colorado. It's got like all these, it's a mountain full of boulders, basically.
Okay.
And there's this monastery. It's by Barcelona. And so I took a little tour. It was like $40. Took it up there, and while I was up there, I mean, it's a beautiful place. It was all built by the monks by hand and stuff. And while I was up there, I saw this huge line. Everyone was waiting in this big line that was like maybe 45 minutes long or something like that. And I asked the tour guy, I was like, "Oh, what are they waiting in line for?" And she said, "Oh, there's a Black Madonna that's in there. It's made of wood and about 3 foot tall or whatever." She goes, "If you stand in line, you can like go to it and touch it, and you can pray to it or whatever. And you can ask it for something, and some people say we'll give it to you." And so I'm like, "Huh, interesting, okay." And at this point, I'm not that religious. I went to like I was religious when I was in school, back when I was like a kid. But then when I was about 15, I kind of gave up on all this stuff and was like, I'm just going to go more science based, and I don't know about all this religion stuff. So I hadn't been religious in 30 years basically.
Yeah.
And so I wait in this huge line for this monastery and for this Black Madonna thing. I finally get to it, and it was like carrying a ball in its hand. And so I go ahead and I touch the ball, and I asked for I just said, I just kind of like prayed to it and asked for security and guidance and a couple things. And I was like, I was like, okay, I don't know what that did. So, kind of like, did the whole thing and, walked away and
Yeah.
went down. And then I prayed for like the first time ever in my life, and like, or in the first time in a long, long time, 30 years. And then I was like, okay, that was kind of cool. So then the bus was leaving. So I hopped on the bus and took off. So I didn't really even see the monastery that much. I just kind of stood in that line for a long time. So not thinking anything of it. I get back to United States and, it was maybe a week. I think it was 1 week later exactly. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden I'm having this like super intense dream, and I was like, "What the heck is going on here?" And it was a it was a me as a Mario in Mario Brothers, like the old one from like like the early '90s.
Oh
And
yeah. Forgot about
yeah,
that
and it was
movie.
and I I haven't played that video game since I was a kid, and I haven't even thought about that video game. I don't even play video games anymore.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is kind of weird. So, and it was weird because it was like you could go, just like the game, you could go forward, but like you couldn't go back because the screen goes with you.
Yeah.
So it's like you can move forward, but you can't move backwards. And so I was like, okay. And it showed me jumping all the obstacles, going down the tubes, doing all this stuff, hitting the coins, whatever. And now I was standing at the stairs, and it's like, oh, just climb these stairs and pull the flag on the other side, just like the game. And I was like, what the hell? I'm like, what is this? This is wild. And this is like, it wasn't quite a dream. It was like a vision or something. I was like, this is super weird. So then it kind of went through a bunch of other stuff with me, but that was like the gist of it. And it just kept telling me pull the flag. So I was like, okay, pull the flag. Okay. So then I woke up, I come downstairs, and I'm looking outside, and I was like, if that was a dream, like, or if that was something I need to pay attention to, or a vision or something, I'm like, show me a sign. I'm looking for a meteor or a shooting star or something. Like thinking like I'm gonna see something like that. Nothing happened. So I was like, all right, got a glass of water, went back upstairs.
Yeah.
Now it's like actually I remember the time, it's 2:24 a.m. And I'm going to sleep, and then all of a sudden in our room, this the light from the ceiling just like turned on, and that has no switch to it. It has no. It's a ceiling fan with four lights on it,
Okay.
and it's like 12 feet high in our room.
Yeah.
And there's no way to turn it on. So I was like, what the heck? I'm like, my wife Teresa just never even woke up. She was staring right at it, didn't even wake up. So I was
Really?
like, this is super crazy. So I was trying to turn it off, looking for light switches, looking for the remote control because there's like a fan remote, but that the
Yes.
batteries were dead. The batteries were dead inside that.
They always
So I was
are.
like, oh, yeah, they always are. So I was
They
like,
always are.
okay, this is interesting. So I had to go all the way down to I have like a separate garage. I walked all the way down there. It's the middle of the night. Grabbed this 12-foot ladder. I bring it in the house. I'm setting it up in the bedroom. And then I climbed the ladder, and then pulled the little chain, to turn the light off, and it was off. And so I was like, okay, I'm like, I'll take that as a sign and don't do that again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was crazy. So the next morning, Teresa wakes up and she's like, what's this ladder doing in our room? And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, let me tell you about this whole crazy story that happened. She's like, oh my God, that's kind of wild. So after that, I was like, huh, maybe I should start looking at this religion thing a little bit more and like, bringing it back in my life. So I asked her about it. She's like, well, there's a place up here. It's a monastery, or not a monastery. It's just a little like chapel thing. It's up on the hill. And so she goes, oh, why don't you go over there and just like check it out? And they have a little statue and stuff. So I walked up this hill and checked that out. And while I was up there was only one lady up there. She was carrying a rosary, and she's walking around this 15-foot Jesus. And it's a big statue there. And I was talking to her, or she was the only one up there. So I was kind of walking around a little bit for a bit. And then finally she was like, oh, how you doing? Whatever, just small talk. And then I was like, I'm just gonna tell this lady like what happened. So I started telling her like, I'm like, I don't even know you, but here's the story that happened because I'm still trying to process it. And she's like, oh, she goes, that's so funny. She's like that. She goes, I stayed at the monastery that you're talking about in Barcelona. She goes, I know that Black Madonna thing.
Oh my
She goes,
goodness.
she goes, I've actually stayed there for a couple of days. And I'm like, that's so random. I'm like, you're the only person up here right now, and you happen to just know what I'm talking about.
That's
And
so
so it was just such a weird thing.
yeah.
So fast forward, like maybe, I guess, we did that ayahuasca in March. Fast forward like January now. and still in this like weird, funky place that I can't quite get out of it, and it's just like a small depression kind of thing that's happening. And I'm like, I just can't shake this thing. And so I came home and Teresa's like, hey, I was looking for trips for us just to get away. And she's like, and I came across this ayahuasca trip in Costa Rica. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I've done mushrooms before, like a little bit. And in fact, I'm kind of a late bloomer.
Yeah.
The first time I took mushrooms was when I was 40 years old. So I'm
Okay.
46 now.
Right.
And so the first time I ever smoked weed was 35. So,
Wow. Wow.
because I was like one of those dare keep kids off drugs kids.
Of
So it's like I
course.
never touched anything, except for like, drinking beers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I was like, man, I'm like ayahuasca. I'm like, because I've heard about it from Joe Rogan and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's pretty intense stuff. But I was like, you know what? Screw it, let's do it.
Do
So
it.
she's like, all right, so I'm gonna book it. Let's go. So it was kind of funny right from the point where we started. Right, I mean, this maybe happened with you too. So I heard a few people in our class that this happened to them, but it was like as soon as you booked it, it was like life started changing. It's
Yeah.
almost like it started working. The ayahuasca started working, even though you hadn't even taken it yet.
Yeah.
That happened to you?
In a way, it sounds like your journey started the day that you decided to leave your room in Spain and go to that
Yeah,
monastery.
yeah, I think it really did. It's been a really wild ride.
Like
Yeah, so
before you continue, I'll just to kind of relate to your story a little bit. Um, Myself, I went to Catholic school, through eighth grade, church every week,
oh yeah,
and I was always told God was real. And as a young kid, I believed it. I believed it. I believed it. As I went into my 20s, he doesn't answer my prayers. He's not real. Some people are just kooky. That's just the way I thought. And what's funny is, and this is the journey that begins after you book this trip, is I began having thoughts in my 20s of these signs that were put in front of me that I always ignored.
huh,
And as soon as I booked this trip, I started recognizing the signs in front of me. And it sounds like you are kind of in a similar space where you went to the monastery, you prayed to this 3 foot statue in Spain, and then you have your dream, and you
yeah,
go to a little chapel in Colorado there. It just so happens the only
yeah.
person there happened to be at the same monastery as you.
Knew exactly what I was talking about. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, and it's no mistake that all of us met each other in Costa Rica. You're 46. It took you 46 years to get to Costa Rica. It took me
yep,
32 years to get to Costa Rica. Our lives completely different, different states, different people, everything different. But for whatever reason, God chose for us to meet in that space at that time and to interact with one another.
yeah.
And it's a super, super larger than life thing. We were talking just before we hit record about how the universe works in so many mysterious ways, and
Yeah.
navigating those answers are really fun. And it in my opinion, it's more fun to think about what the answers are rather than just ignoring them and continuing on with life.
Oh, for sure.
Continue
And
on.
I
Continue on.
think you're right. I think you're right that I mean, even some of the people that run Rythmia, they've seen this 18,000 times now.
Yeah.
And they talk about how each class is like kind of brought together by divine intervention or whatever it is. And so it was, even the people who've done this stuff 80 times, is like they say the same thing. Like there's no accidents. There's no coincidences like that. And I think you're right. That group that we had, it was 50 people, and I think they're all brought together for a reason, and the next time you go do it in the fall, or if you go do it next year or whatever, it's going to be another group that's going to be the exact group that you need for that time.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably going to be true as well.
And
So
what's funny is you and I, we really didn't talk until I think it was day 3 or day 4.
I think you're right. Yeah.
It was a large group of people. people, and you navigate through those, you get to know those people. And what's funny is the first day and we saw this with the incoming group the week after us, is everyone sits at a different table and for the first day, and then you kind of form your little cliques, and then as the week goes on, the clique gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then before you know it, all of us are almost in a giant circle just speaking with each other.
Yeah, and everyone's like best friends now.
Yeah,
It's
isn't
kind of
it? It's
yeah,
just wild.
it is wild.
It's
I remember
wild.
when I first got there, it was like Sunday, and we had just got there. It was kind of late, but I think we were there in time for dinner, maybe, or some of our dinner was just finishing up.
Yeah,
And it was the group before us. It was group 406, and we're group 407.
yeah,
And I remember just being like, man, these people like this must be some kind of reunion or something. Like these people all know each other. Like
yeah.
they're all hugging. Everyone's like, I was like, what is this? And I don't know if you noticed this, but when everyone got there, it's like we were all kind of like, um, I don't know. It's just like we just had there was an aura about us, that I didn't quite catch until like day 3 or 4. And I was like, oh man, when we all came there, we were just beat down, tired. We were, everybody, all 50 of us. It was like we were all dealing with something, and you could see it on our faces and our body posture, everything. And then by Friday, everyone was completely different. Even though like we barely slept and we're
Yeah.
throwing up and we're doing all these things, and it's like you would think that we'd be so tired if we couldn't even stand up, but we were the opposite. We had energy and we were feeling good.
I need to get a copy of my intake photo. They take your photo when you get in. And
Yeah.
I remember when I was checking out, they were looking at my intake photo and they were looking at me and they said, "You're not the same person." And I looked at it and what's funny is I do have my ID photo that I had taken a month before I had left, and
Okay.
I need to get that photo changed. But at the same time, I uh,
Yeah.
I should keep it as a reminder because
Yeah, maybe you should keep this room like that.
you
That
know
would be a good idea.
the rear view mirror is smaller than the windshield for a reason, but it's still there.
It's still there.
It's
Yeah.
still there. Yeah.
Well, and that's what the ayahuasca kind of teaches you too, is that it's like you can't live in the past and definitely don't want to be living in the future. Like, plan for the future, but don't live in the future because
Yeah.
you don't know what the future is going to bring, like you have no clue. And I feel like the shamans kept telling us that, and now I kind of understand what they're talking about because it's so easy to keep living in the future, like just keep planning for the future, living in the future. Oh, I gotta do this for, when I retire or whatever. And you can literally just live there. And then by the time the future comes, it wasn't even what you thought it was going to be
Yeah.
when you were thinking about it. And so it's like, what's the point? And why even bother even doing that? Just live in the present.
So
I
continue on.
always get
You
teach that.
you get to Costa Rica after you decide to go on
Yeah.
this trip.
Okay. So yeah. So we get to Costa Rica. So we booked it in January. I was kind of feeling the effects already, just even booking it. So we finally get there. Um, and yeah, we got there Sunday night, like I said. So I was pretty tired just because of the flight and all that kind of stuff. So Monday I slept in. Everybody's doing yoga. I slept in and was kind of just out of it a little bit. Went to breakfast. And then this was Sunday, so we did some of the classes and stuff. They're kind of telling us, oh, here's kind of what to expect in a sense. And so I was like, okay, this, I kind of like had an idea what to expect just because, like I said, I've taken mushrooms before, so I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this is what you expect or whatever.
Yeah.
So then Monday comes. Now Monday I felt a little bit better. I woke up early. I did the yoga class, did the breath work
Yeah.
class, which was that was really cool. Um, just had the day and we went to all the classes and stuff. So then um Monday night comes 5:30 and it's time to take the ayahuasca. So I'm like, okay, here we go. And so let's just go for it. So
Yeah.
like you do it in a room. It's a gigantic room. Just for people who don't know, it's a big room. There's glass windows all the way around.
It's a beautiful
Um,
building. It's so
it's a
beautiful.
beautiful building. Yeah, it is. And of course, you got scarlet macaws outside. You got howler monkeys outside. You got
Especially the
just
first night, those monkeys.
oh my God, those monkeys. And yeah, the just the whole place is just really beautiful the way they
Yeah.
set it up and stuff. So you don't feel like it's not like you're just in a little tiny room doing this stuff. It's like
No.
you feel like you're in an open air space.
Yep.
And the guys are on one side and the girls are on one side. And so yeah, so I go up. I didn't really know what to expect, so I was a little bit nervous. So the shamans come in, they tell everybody to be quiet. Don't talk to one another, don't talk to anybody, because there's a reason for that. It's that you don't take anybody out of their space. Like do their journey. They don't want you interrupting that journey, which is a good thing to do. Um, and so the shamans come in, they're beating the drums, they're doing the whole thing. Then they talk to us and trying to make us feel comfortable. I thought that was really good. I thought the shamans just did a really fantastic job there. It was just amazing, just the way they're so in tune with everybody, and
Yeah.
just even the way they talk and what they're saying is just it was like all resonating.
How did
So
you
then, of
feel
course,
after your first night?
yeah. So at the first night, so I take after I mean, yeah, that first night was so intense. It was I ended up taking 4 shots.
Okay.
I took the first shot and then nothing happened. And then so I was like, okay. So I took the second shot, nothing happened. So then I take a third one and then still nothing happened. So at this point, I'm kind of getting like, oh, okay, maybe this stuff is just not working for me. Like maybe I just one of those people. So I went and talked to one of the staff that was working there. I was like, hey, I don't think this stuff's working. She was like, oh, just go do another one. And so I was like, okay. And so I took in the fourth one and at this point, I couldn't be in the room anymore. I couldn't be. I mean, that room was like some of the sounds coming out there
You
and
gotta go
people
outside.
throwing up. Oh God, yeah,
Yeah.
I had to go outside. I
I
was
was the
like,
same
can't do
way.
this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so I get out of there and I'm like, I just went out to the grass area where the hammocks and stuff were, and I'm kind of walking around there um, and then I remember this. I think her name is Raven. She came up to me. She goes, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" I'm like, oh, "I took 4 shots." I'm like, "I'm not really feeling anything." And she goes, "Oh," she goes, "You'll start feeling it." She's like, "The medicine is figuring out who you are." That's exactly what she said. It's figuring out who you are. And I was like, okay. I'm like, that's a good way to think about it. So I was
Yeah.
like, all right, screw it. I'm just gonna go lay on this hammock over here. So I laid on the hammock and I'm like looking at, the full moon that night and stars are beautiful. So I'm looking at everything. And,
Yeah.
of course, it's Costa Rica. It's beautiful, beautiful weather. So as I'm laying in the hammock, all of a sudden from behind, I hear, "You're not a rock." And I was like, who the hell said that? And I was like, and I'm like, I thought literally somebody just said it. I was like, "You're not a rock." I'm like, what does that mean? And then it just kept saying it. "You're not a rock. You're not a rock. You're not a rock." And I was like, what the hell is going on? And I was like, am I thinking this or like, what is happening here? And it said it so many times. It just kept saying, "You're not a rock. You're not a rock." And then at some point, I was like, "Yeah, I know I'm not a rock." Like, duh. I mean, like, and then
Yeah.
it was just like, and then it said, "If I wanted to make you a rock, I would have made you a rock. Like, I can make anything in the world." And
Think
I was
deeper.
like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." And I was like, it was like, "I made you a human being." I was like, "Okay." And then it just kept saying it. I was like, "This is trippy. Like, why does this keep saying this?" And then around the 30th time or something like that, it said it. I just started breaking down. I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell is going on? And remember they gave us those masks
Yes.
to cover
Yes.
our eyes. Well, mine was like up on my head, so I could still see, but it was like on my forehead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I brought it down and because I was like using it to, just to get all the water out of my eyes because I was like, what in the hell is going on? I was just like, it was coming out of me so crazy. And it was all these emotions and all this stuff. And then the whole time it's still saying, "You're not a rock. You're not a rock." And I'm like, oh my God. And like my shirt is just getting soaked and I'm just
Really?
bawling.
Wow.
Oh, it was intense.
Wow.
And so this goes on for quite a while. And then I don't know where, I mean, it's not like I'm a person that cries very often. So it's like, I mean, this is coming out of left field for me. And I'm like, holy cow. And then this voice comes to me again and was like, "Hey, I got somebody here for you." And I was like, "Okay." And the voice sounded familiar, so I was like, "Okay, like who do you have here for me?" So I'm just kind of like still bawling. And so
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden Jesus came to me,
Wow.
which was the most like I was like, "What in the?" I was like, "This is what the hell is going on here?" And I'm still kind of I'm like, "This is insane." And I remember just I was like, "You're Jesus Christ." And he was like, yeah. And I was like,
Yeah.
you're real. And I was like, what? And I'm like, why are you're
Uh,
here in Costa Rica next to a hammock that I'm still sitting in? I'm like looking around like this, like what is going on here? And
yeah.
then and I remember just being like, because again, I haven't been to church or anything like that in 30 years. Since when I was 15, I kind of denounced the church. I denounced all that stuff because
Yeah.
I was like, this is just, bogus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now here it is. Now you're all these years later. I'm like sitting here talking to Jesus in a hammock in Costa Rica on DMT. I'm like, what in the hell is going on? And he starts telling me about when I was 11. He's like, oh, I've had your back since you were 11, and I've always been there for you. And a little bit of a backstory is that my mom ended up marrying my stepdad, and he was just super abusive, and just the whole thing was just not great. We lived with him for 4 years,
Wow.
and when the fighting would start happening, just and he was a psychopath, and when anything would start happening, I remember just being in bed, laying there like stiff as a board, like just like and just
Yeah.
because I was 11 years old, I didn't know really what to do. There's not much you can do. It's like
Yeah.
you just kind of, and everybody, my brothers and sisters, they all kind of went through different emotions with that whole experience. And mine was just to freeze in the sense, it's like that fight, flight, or freeze. I just froze, and here I
Yeah.
was like, a kid. And I was doing in the hammock, I was actually seizing, like being stiff like that,
Just like when you were young.
just like when I was a kid. And he
Yeah.
was telling me, he's like, yeah, he goes, this was what you were doing. This is how, and then what you're doing is you're internalizing all this emotions, instead of letting it out, you just internalized all of it. And then
Yes.
that's what that just was. You were just releasing all that.
Wow.
And I was like, holy
Wow.
shit. And then he just sat there with me and just told me about how he's been there through me with that and through a bunch of other stuff. And I was like, we just sat there and talked for like, I don't know how long, but I was like, this is tripping me out. I mean, this is crazy. The fact
The
that I'm sitting here talking to to Jesus,
yeah.
like this is just insane, like, and
Yeah.
if I told this to anybody else, they'd be like, this isn't, you're an insane person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm
I
like,
do.
yeah. So it was just the most profound experience. So then all of a sudden, so he kind of goes away. Oh no, oh sorry, before he goes away, he says he talks about like this other version of me that like has to put up this strong front, this tough guy kind of persona or whatever. And he's
Yeah.
like, you have to let go of that. And I was like, okay. Um, so I didn't know really what that meant, but then he kind of goes away. And then all of a sudden I'm in a car, and I'm like, okay, I'm in the car now. And then in the driver, I was in the driver's seat, and the passenger seat is myself, but like this other version of myself, like a tougher version of myself. And then he's in the passenger seat. He goes, and all he looks at me. He goes, "Oh, you want me to get in the back seat?" He goes, he goes, "Oh, you're driving now. You want me to get in the back seat?" And then he hops in the back seat. And I'm like, "Okay." And so I'm like, just like in this car, like I don't even know where we're going. We're just going. And then so then he starts getting kind of like mad about being in the back seat. He's like, I don't want to be back here. I don't like being back here. So he's kind of arguing with me, and I'm like, okay, fine, like get in the passenger seat. Like, what do I care? Like, so he gets in the passenger seat, and then he's like, yeah, I should be in the passenger seat with you because I can help you navigate your life, and I've been with you this whole time, just helping you out, stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I'm like, that makes sense to me, like whatever. And so, but then all of a sudden, this voice again was like, he's got to go. And I was like,
Okay.
I
I
was
know
like,
you're
I
going
think
with
you got
this.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, I think you got to go.
Hmm.
And he didn't want to go. And
Yeah.
so, and as soon as I was like, well, you have to go. And then all of a sudden, that's when my stomach, I was like, oh God, I got to throw up. And I was like,
Wow.
and I ran, I was outside. So I ran to those little bathrooms that were outside,
Yeah.
and I'm just heaving. And I'm like, oh my God. And it's just, coming out of both ends. It's crazy. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden, like the last throw up on that was, I kind of felt like it was like something was releasing out of my chest or something. And I threw it up, and it was
Yeah.
like, and then I just felt like 50 pounds came off me. I was like, oh, okay, I feel much better now. And so I walked outside, and I was like, okay, I feel like maybe I released whatever it was that extra person.
Yeah.
And so then I went to the hammocks. everything kind, the DMT kind of wore off after that. I felt fine. The sky looked amazing, the stars looked amazing. That was my night, and I didn't sleep at all that night. I think I slept. Oh no, I take that back. I take that back. We went back to the room, and then for the first night in probably my entire life, I slept on my stomach,
Oh,
which
really?
was so weird. And because I simply sleep on my back, like as a protection mechanism. And so I slept
Oh,
on my stomach, and I slept on my stomach the entire night, and didn't get very good sleep. I got kind of restless sleep, but it was like even my wife was like, "Wow, you never sleep on your stomach." I was like, "Yeah, that was super trippy."
yeah.
And so yeah, that was the first night. The first night was kind of wild.
That's just amazing. Uh, it the first night is for me personally, I had a lot of expectations because I had read a lot about it, and I'm thinking to myself, what's going to happen? What am I going to see?
Yeah.
And one of the things that they mention at Rythmia is don't have envy of other people's experiences.
Oh yeah.
And had a little bit of that the next day, and it sounds like you had that some visions of being in a car. My entire experience was either sleep or consultation. They say sleep is the rarest but the best one. So it's not the ayahuasca gives you what you need, not what you want. That's what they
Yeah.
say. And for me personally, I I went through the death of my parents,
Oh
and
wow.
and it was, what are you going to do when they die? Because I'm an addict, and it would be nice to use that energy towards something a little bit more productive. I've always been a productive person in my life, but if I could, clean up that behind closed doors part of my life,
Yeah.
then I could be really productive.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
uh, it's a difference that's been since I've been back, but I went through all the scenarios of what my life would look like after my parents die. And because they've been my rock through this divorce that I've gone through over the last couple of years, and um, it's been somewhat messy. So for me personally, had I not, gone on that trip and prepared myself for what's to come, I don't know where that would have put me. At this
Yeah.
point now, I I have that preparation, and I have healthy coping mechanisms at this point through prayer and faith, rather than going and doing some cocaine
Yeah.
or going on some sort of binge. Um, so okay, night one concludes. You sleep on your stomach for the first time in your life.
Yep. So yeah,
You
it's
got
all Jesus,
you have
which was
you met
yeah,
Jesus. That I missed
still
that key
processing that to
detail.
this day.
Yeah,
Yeah, still processing that 6 weeks later.
yeah.
Uh,
So then you're in class the next day, and I think everybody in
yeah.
class the next day was looking around like, what the fuck?
What the hell did we just go through? I think you're exactly right. I remember looking around past like, is everyone witnessing the same stuff? Because
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like I mean, obviously we heard some people's stories that night, because after the closing ceremony they have you you can share. I didn't really share at all
No,
the entire time I was there.
I
I
did
was
on the
just
last day, and that was it for me. Yeah.
I did it on the last day myself when we were in that I think it was Amanda's class or whatever in the very that the closing thing.
Yes.
But it was like other than that, I really didn't share because I think I was just like still in process. I was like,
Yeah.
I remember just thinking, I was like, there's like this is the craziest story. Like no one's gonna believe this. This is insane,
Yeah.
And so yeah, so good tonight too. Yeah, we do all the classes, all that kind of stuff. I think yeah, just kind of processing through everything. Night two, I ended up only taking 2 shots of the ayahuasca, which they do say like the shaman. I remember shaman saying, try to get 2 down if you can.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, like I did the one, it doesn't taste very good. So I was like, I'll just go for 2.
Yeah.
Went and did 2. And then night 2, I was kind of, I decided to stay in the, was it called the Malacca?
Maloka. Yep.
Maloka. I stayed in the Maloka and I didn't really go outside or anything. I just stayed in there. And then I was, oh yeah. And all of a sudden, like maybe a couple hours goes by and my back started seizing up. So I started getting all these back like pains. And I remember like sitting in class on Monday and on Tuesday and my back was hurting in class too. And it was just, and and I don't typically get, it's not like I have a back problem or anything. It was like, it was
Yeah.
just starting to like seize up and the muscles were starting to hurt and stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, this is kind of weird. So I'm stretching out, we're laying in this mattress. I'm stretching out and it was just like, I just couldn't get it to settle down, And so the one of the guy or one of the people next to me, because I was kind of sitting over by the band where the band was, they came over to me and he's like, hey, you doing okay and stuff? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, my back is just like really spasming right now. And he's like, just breathe and breathe into your nose, breathe out through your mouth. He's kind of doing it with me a little bit. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay. And then he's like, he was like, keep stretching, stretch everything. And so I was like, okay, I'm just keep stretching, stretch my back, stretch my legs, my calves. I just kept breathing into my nose, out to my mouth. And there was a window right above me.
Yeah.
And so I kept taking the air from the window because it was a little cooler and into my nose and like
Yeah.
doing that whole thing.
Right.
And I was just doing it for so long, like almost to the point of it just seemed like for hours, just doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm even doing it with my arms too, and I'm breathing out like that, and just kept doing that. And and then all of a sudden it was like I could feel it loosening up, my back. And I was like, oh God, the more I calmed my body, it calmed my mind, calmed my breathing. It was like I could one, it just kept getting more pissed off, or whatever was inside me. And then finally it was just like to the point where it didn't want to be there anymore. And so that I got up, those white buckets, I start puking in those white buckets. All this black sludge is blacker than black, it just starts
Wow.
coming out.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God. So then I had to run to the bathroom as fast as I could.
Yeah.
I feel like I barely made it. Got in there, and it's just like coming out both ends. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
insane. And as I'm in there, I'm just like on the toilet, and I'm just like, oh my God. So, you remember the throwing up there? It's like it's not like an average throw up. I mean, it's coming from like the back of your, you know, it
Yeah.
seems like it's coming from like your back instead of your stomach. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I'm like just heaving. I'm like, oh my God, trying to get the stuff out. And then the last one, I finally threw it up and I felt like this huge release, and I'm sitting on the toilet like, what the hell? I got snot running down my nose. My eyes are watering. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then I just for a second, I look over to the bucket and I'm like, are those scales? What the hell's in there? And I pull the bucket over to me, and there was a little thing in there about like this big, and it had a tail and a body and scales, and
Oh
it was
shit.
black
Wow.
with green stripes.
Okay.
And I was like, and but it was like halfway submerged and halfway not inside the black stuff that I just threw up. And there's all these scales. The scales were on the thing, and then also just like once it shedded, in the bucket. And I was like, and I remember just kept looking at that. I was like, this can't be real. Like, what the hell am I looking at? And I'm like that thing has scales and it has
Mhm.
a tail on it. And I was like, and I remember I just looked at it, I put the bucket down, then I picked it back up, and I looked at it again. I'm like, I must be tripping so hard. I'm like, there's no way that that is in there. And then
A
so
fish.
I finally pushed it off to the side, and I'm like, what the hell? And then I tried to stand up, and I could barely stand up.
Yeah.
My legs were so gone.
Right.
So then I kind of washed up and stuff, and then the shaman came over, or whoever came over, they're knocking on the door, like, "Hey, you all right?" I'm like, "I kind of need help," and so they got me out of there, and they were like helping me walk because I could barely walk,
Yeah.
and I even told them I was like, "Oh, man, I can barely walk," and they're like, "What is the first time you've ever walked?" And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "What does that mean?" I was like, "Oh my God." And so then they take me outside to the grass, and I just kind of kneel on the grass because I couldn't even stand up. And they're like, "Okay, you're all right." I'm like, "Okay, I think I'm okay." And so as he started walking away, I forget his name, but I grabbed his hand real quick, and I was like, "Hey," I'm like, "I gotta tell you something." I was like, "I think I just threw up like a demon in that bucket." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, you did." And I was like, "I did." I'm like, "You're confirming that?" And he's like, "Yeah." He says like, "You're on your journey. You're seeing whatever you're seeing. You're doing whatever you're doing." I'm like, oh my God. And so I remember just being like, that tripped me out so hard. And so I just laid in the grass there, like staring at the sky, and I was just like what is this place? What the hell did I just throw up? What the hell is
Yeah.
going on here?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it felt like a weight had lifted up like 50 pounds came off my back. And I was
Yeah.
like, I just felt amazing. But yeah, that was the second night. It was
Okay.
that was intense. And so then I just laid in the hammock. I made my way to the hammocks, and how some of the trees kind of like came over the hammocks, and
Yeah.
like the leaves looked amazing and the tree looked amazing, the music was going, the boom, 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 and the
The
flutes and
music
the
on Tuesday night
harmonica.
was something else.
It was something else.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
bonfire thing is going, and I'm just
Oh.
laying there. And I remember thinking like, wow, this is like it almost felt like I was back like 1,000 years, back when human beings used to just
Yes.
be out there like that.
Yes, it
And I
did.
was like, holy cow, like this is so amazing. And and then Raven again, she's I think she came to a lot of people. She came to me and she's kind of like, hey, how's everything going? Are you processing everything? And I told her about the demon thing. And she confirmed it again. She's like, yeah, she's like, she's like, that's what's happening to a lot of people here. And I was like, holy
Wow.
cow. And she's like, when it got inside you. And I was like, and I remembered the night before, and I was like, maybe when I was 11, I don't know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so and she's like, were you in a lot of fear when you were a kid? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I did have a lot of fear at that age. And so she was like, yeah, it's probably when it got in. And she's
Wow.
like, but she goes, you're released from it now, so you don't have to worry.
You ready to
So
move
I was
on?
like, holy cow. So that was night two.
Yeah. Night two for me, I had previously mentioned it was like a party for me. I had so much fun. And again, the consultations nonstop. I was out in the hammock for a while. And I think on night two, I only threw up once. And the whole entire night, like we were having a really good conversation, me and myself. And it's just I was talking out loud and I'm looking around like how many people are looking over at me talking out loud to myself, but it wasn't me
We
that
were
was
all doing
talking.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And I remember when you say the throwing up piece of it, I remember telling Mother Ayahuasca or whoever it was that was speaking with me, remember saying, I'm not ready to throw up yet. Let's keep going. Let's keep talking. And I had put it off the whole entire night. So I don't want to throw up yet. Wait, wait, wait. And then finally,
Yeah.
just before the end, I said, "All right, you in? I'll throw up," and it was like a
Yeah.
competition we had, and I kept saying, "You're gonna win this, but for now, let's just let's just
Yeah,
keep
let's just have a
going."
conversation. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. When once it comes to, there's no stopping it. You can't stop it.
No,
It's like, man, once
no.
it comes, it's coming.
I was putting it off as long as I could, and I think they had said just let it go, surrender, 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 and maybe I'm right now having a revelation that I need to surrender a little more uh easily.
Yeah,
But for the time I was being stubborn that night, but I was still having fun. Like we were having I
yeah,
don't can't I really can't tell you what it was what I was talking with myself about because I don't remember. I just remember how I felt. And
yeah,
I just remember being so happy. I was just so happy and I was having such a good time. And part of me felt guilty because I was looking around and I'm like, nobody else here is happy right now. It doesn't seem that way, at least.
No, not night one or night two. No,
No,
definitely not.
no.
Nope.
And uh,
Everyone was going through through
yeah,
some serious stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And mine came a little bit later in the week, as far as revelations go, but night two in my eyes was the most fun night, and the music, the harmonicas, how they would
Oh
play the
man.
harmonicas off and then all of a sudden
Yep.
they merged on.
Yep.
They were off key and then all of a sudden the key became right on key.
Yeah.
And
No, the music was just it was amazing how they were. It's like they knew what to play for what you were going through.
it was something else.
It was something else. Yeah, I mean the whole experience. I just remember thinking like this is nuts. I mean,
It's the best
I think
concert I've
someone
ever
said,
been to.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I remember somebody in the class said this is like they looked at everyone and said this is insane. I was like that is the perfect word to describe this. This is insane. I mean,
Yeah.
like what we're going through is insane.
Yes. Yes.
So
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 okay,
yeah,
night
so
two
then night
concludes. Yep.
yeah, night two concludes. Night three was nothing too crazy. I threw up again, but I just threw up red ayahuasca. That's all I threw up. There was no black stuff or anything.
How
And
many cups?
I did 2 cups on
Okay.
Wednesday,
Okay.
and that was just kind of a chill night. Not much happened. I think I was having some downloads and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And then other than that, that was kind of night three. Not much happened. And then night four, that was the night we did all the way through.
The Yahe. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I took 2 shots again. I just passed out. I passed out for a long time, probably a good, 6, 7 hours, and I was out of it. And then I kept waking up in the middle of that, and then having downloads, and my eyes were like kind of flickering, like kind of doing like almost like I felt like the Matrix, where you get plugged in the back of the head, and it
Yeah.
was like a literally like a download.
Right.
And I think my brain was just rewiring from what had happened Monday and Tuesday, and now my brain was kind of like it was rewiring itself
Yeah.
um, from that process. And then that was Thursday, and then I just yeah, I think I slept through most of it, and I had these downloads. And other than that, yeah, not much happened Wednesday or Thursday.
Oh,
Everything that I kind of went through was Monday, Tuesday. But
okay.
then I mean, I remember Thursday I woke up after I woke up from they call it a NADA,
Yes.
NADA, and I woke up from that and had the downloads, and I remember feeling amazing. I woke up that morning, the sun's coming up. I was like, oh my God, I feel just refreshed and amazing. And I was out there talking with everybody, and just like, it was
Yeah,
just a profound experience. Yeah,
the
and
conversation
yeah,
on Thursday morning was unlike anything I've ever had in my life.
oh yeah, for sure.
Uh, I was describing it to a friend, and this friend of mine is kind of silly, and he goes, "Was the conversation like you had just had 4 beers and a cigarette?" And I said, he goes, "Because that's like the best feeling ever." And I said, "Well, as much drugs as I've done in my life, I've never smoked a cigarette before, so I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you it was pretty special." And
Yeah, it was.
so
Yeah,
how
everyone had an awakening for sure.
yeah. So how has life changed for you?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, it's funny. Everyone that I see says, "Yeah, you look different."
Yeah,
Like just physically, you look different. And even my parents said that. Some of my best friends said that. They're like, "Yeah, you look different. You have a different aura about you."
hmm
And then my diet has changed a lot. We're juicing every morning. We're going. I started going to the gym again.
yeah,
Um, all that stuff. It's, still trying to do yoga and stuff and breath work and grounding. The other day, I went to the park and just took my shoes off and walked around the grass and just grounded. And,
yeah,
so yeah, it's been really good. It's kind of like I didn't expect it to last this long, but here we are 6 weeks and the effects are still running strong. And obviously it's like you get back to normal life, so you got to deal with normal life. But there's a little part of me that's like still wants to just yeah, it's like do your grounding, do your breath work, do your yoga, do your juicing. My
yeah,
diet haven't changed. I've had a couple beers and stuff since then, but it's like they don't taste the same.
yeah.
It's almost like yeah, I can take it or leave it.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. It's like it kind of changes what you like and what you don't like a little. Not a lot, but definitely a little bit.
Have you did you dream a lot prior to going, and have your dreams changed, or do you dream more now, or do you dream less, or is it the same?
I dream less. I feel like I haven't had very many dreams since I've been back, and I feel like I was having some dreams before I went. I can't remember what they were, but I just remember dreaming more. And now
Okay.
since I've been back, it's like I sleep really well, and yeah, I
Right.
wake up recharged, and yeah, not really having very many dreams and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been good.
I hadn't dreamed for 10 or 15 years
Oh wow,
before Costa Rica, and now I dream every single night.
really?
And I every night I have what feels like another ayahuasca experience almost
Oh
when I'm
wow,
dreaming.
yeah,
Yeah, it's whatever it is that I drank is still in me, and I think it's in me for life. And
I think so. Yeah,
I when I have the opportunity, I just want to thank Rythmia with every ounce of my body. Just thank you, because it it's guiding me on this path, and I can't explain what this path is because I don't know what it is yet, but it feels really special.
yeah,
As far as routine goes on a daily basis, every morning it's yoga, working out, and eating healthy, taking care of myself, loving myself, and
yeah.
throughout the whole day, gratitude. I remember our yoga instructor when we had some good laughs with Victor. Thank your toes, thank your hands, thank your
Yeah,
fingers, thank your knees. But how true is that?
it's so true.
And I mentioned it in the last episode about I was blind for an hour, I was deaf for an hour, and then I came out of it and I was so thankful. The gratitude is like the most important part of my foundation at this point in my life. Gratitude
Yep.
is so special. So,
It's so
uh,
true. I went hiking maybe last Wednesday, and I just got home from work. I was like, the sun's been staying up later, so I'm like, I'm gonna go hiking. So we live here in the forest in Colorado here, so
Yeah.
I went for a hike and maybe a couple miles in, whatever. And I got out as soon as I got way out in the forest. There was a bench there.
Yeah.
So I sat on the bench. I took my shoes off, grounded to the earth, and I remember just like all of a sudden this gratitude came over me. I was like, no, I'm grateful for where I live. I'm grateful for all these things. I was just naming them out. And I was just talking to the trees,
Yeah.
because part of me was like, the trees are listening because
Yeah.
when you take ayahuasca, you really understand the trees are listening. I was like, I just started talking to the trees, and I was like, here's what I'm grateful for, all these things,
Yeah.
and I felt recharged. I put my shoes back on. I was like, oh, I feel good. I'm ready to go. So, I need to do that again this week too, as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, yeah, it's awesome.
I did my first hike ever on Wednesday, or wait, yeah, no, it was Tuesday. On Tuesday, that was the first hike I've ever
Okay.
done in my life, and
Oh wow.
it was roughly about 7 miles, and
Okay.
it
You
was
like?
it was wonderful. And I'm going to be
Yeah.
doing it again this Saturday. This park is 18 miles total, so
Okay.
I'm really really excited to do it again. And what I went with a buddy of mine, and I had mentioned the 4 beers and a cigarette. That's that buddy, and we
Yeah.
we had just he's a really good listener, and we had just talked and talked about my experience and the acclimating back to regular life, and everything is so different. All the colors that I see at this point are so vibrant. The sky is bluer than I've ever
Oh
remembered
wow.
it being.
You're still having visuals. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's it's been a total life changer, and I'm also very thankful that I was able to meet you, and
Yeah.
we're able to experience this together and talk about it. And um overall I just want to say thank you to you as well. So
Yeah, for sure. No, thanks for doing the interview. I appreciate it. And yeah, I can't wait to see more of them that you do and see everybody's stories.
we'll have you on again, and we'll continue to talk about life afterward and the things we experience, and
Yeah,
I'm really
I
looking
like
forward
that
to it. So,
for sure.
okay, wonderful.
All right, thanks, Jesse. Appreciate it.
Of course, no problem. Thank you.